That's right, I've got a new speedy boy in the house. This is the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3. So I'm just going to go over my disclosure here. This was my own personal purchase, so no one is telling me what to say about the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3. All thoughts are my own, and they are subjective to my own personal preferences and needs as a runner. Let's go over some of the features and specifications before I put my foot in this shoe and get it all dirty. We'll start at the top. This is Puma's Power Tape, their upper material, which is not elastic at all. It is not meant to move around. It's meant to kind of enclose your foot. It's fairly translucent in this colorway. A bit coarse to the outside, but in the previous couple of versions, it has never felt coarse on the inside. Standard, thin, flat laces. This looks like a tiny bit of faux suede through the lacing system. It's not real suede. A thin tongue, not too thin, not as thin as something like the Asics Metaspeed Paris series, but there's actually a pad right here on the tongue to protect from the lace bite here. The sock liner is not removable. Well, it's glued down. You could probably remove it with some difficulty, but it is glued down. It's meant to be part of that permanent insole there. Some more of the faux suede material around the heel collar. Some thin padding through the center of the heel counter. There is some good structure there if that's what you like. It's softer here than the previous version. The previous version, there was some coarse material here that had a tendency to grab my sock and pull it down. So I had a hard time wearing no-show socks in the previous version. I don't anticipate that being a problem here. Also, if you look closely, you can see perforations in the material there, which should allow some of the moisture to wick away and your foot to stay cooler. This is the summer that I'll be running in this, so staying cooler would be a great thing. Moving down to the midsole. Nitro Elite midsole on top and on bottom of the plate. You can see the big Nitro there. First of all, I love this colorway. I like the Fire Glow colorway that they have coming in July too. But this prototype colorway with this fade here is awesome. Anyway, back to the midsole. It is a new midsole compound, and I am not sure if it's a blend of PIBA and EVA like it was in the previous versions, but just a different blend, or if it's an aliphatic TPU like it is in the Fastar Nitro 2. So if anyone does know and wants to throw that in the comments, help me out, because I would rather just say I don't know than say the wrong thing. But there's a lot of it. That's the story here. 40 millimeters in the heel, 32 millimeters in the forefoot. So standard 8 millimeter drop like you find in a lot of super racers. Look at the angle of the plate. If you can see this line in the midsole here, it is a very steep angle for that plate. And if you flip it over and you can see the plate, it's hard to tell from this camera angle, but you can see how deep the plate is toward the heel and how shallow it comes toward the midfoot. I'm going to tap the power plate there. So it should be, if you respond really well to really steep plates, so in something like the OG Vaporfly or the Metaspeed Edge Paris, then this might be something that works really well. Outsole, Puma Grip outsole, which is the best of the best. It's up there with Continental Rubber. Against the hand, the Puma Grip feels pretty smooth, but if the previous versions are any indicator, then once you get it on the road, it is going to grip like a Puma's claws. So that's the specs and features that I can see just out of the box, and I'm going to get them on the road. One more thing about the specs, the weight. It's an extremely light shoe, even for a racing shoe. The unconfirmed weight that I have heard is 194 grams, which would be about 6.8 ounces. It certainly feels light. It feels about as light as the Metaspeed Edge Paris that I have. So that would be under that magic 7 ounce and under that magic 200 gram mass that just makes those super shoes really light on foot. So we will see. Quick word on the fit of the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3. I went true to size. This is a men's US 9.5. I have a thumb width worth of room there. It might be a little bit long in just that part of the shoe, but the rest of it is pretty snug. It's a very tapered shoe, so I think if you have a regular foot or a narrow foot, you should be fine. If you have a wide foot, you might experience a little bit of squeeze there. But if you're a soccer player or a cyclist, you shouldn't have any problems. The laces in my size are pretty long, which is good if you want to use that 7th eyelet and do a lock lace. I don't need to do that yet. It seems to not move around, but listen to that Puma grip. Grab the floor.
Initial run in the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3, doing an hour-long run with 20 minutes of tempo effort in the middle. 20 up, 20 tempo, 20 down. I'm on the cool down now. And this is a day after I did a pretty tough peak track workout. Not in these shoes, but the legs were pretty heavy going in. It is pretty firm for a race day shoe. I don't mean to say it's firm like in a negative way. It's just doesn't have a deep compression and deep response. It's very quick response, which is good for a high turnover. But initial thoughts, I don't know that this is going to be a marathon shoe for me, but maybe for some of the faster races like 10K. Over the summer I will be training for 10K, and this might be one of the race options. But I'm going to consider that when I do a shoe off as well. It's shoe off time, and it's a lovely day for it. The dew point is not too high today. I'm going to be at the lovely South Prong Rocky River Greenway in Davidson for this one. The shoe of choice today is the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3, and the shoes with which I am comparing it in the order that I will be using are going to be the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3, the Nike Vaporfly 3, the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 1, the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 2, so the two previous versions of this shoe, the Hoka Rocket X2, and the Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris. Let's get to it. Saucony Endorphin Pro 3. The Endorphin Pro 3 is definitely softer than the Deviate Nitro Elite 3. They both have a similar geometry, but a different response. I think, for me at least, there's a small amount of crossover. Maybe once you get to about the 15K, 10-mile race pace, these would both be pretty good. But then the Endorphin Pro 3 would favor something longer than that, whereas the Nitro Elite, Deviate Nitro Elite 3 would favor something shorter than, and faster than that, like a 10K or faster. All right, versus the Nike Vaporfly 3. So the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3 feels a lot more stable than the Vaporfly 3. And I think that's because the Zoom X in the Vaporfly 3 has a bit deeper compression than the Nitro Elite foam. The Puma feels like it wants to go faster, whereas for maybe a half marathon or more, at a slightly less fast pace, the Nike might be a little more comfortable. All right, Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 1 versus the 3. Direct evolution of the line we'll be talking about for the next couple. Okay, so I think the Nitro Elite foam in the original version might be a little bit softer. That might be my own subjectivity, but there's also less of it there. There's 4 millimeters less of stack height. So the response is not all that dissimilar. I think you get a similar level of response, maybe even more support in the newest version. You also get that extra 4 millimeters of leverage, and you get that more downward sloping plate. So it will be interesting once I throw the second version on next. Deviate Nitro Elite 2 and Deviate Nitro Elite 3. Without question, the ride of the Deviate Nitro Elite 3 is a big improvement over the 2. It's lighter, it's bouncier, just feels better. Next to it, the Nitro Elite 2 feels more like a training shoe, which is how I've been using it. But where I think the Deviate Nitro Elite 3 would be more of a race day only, maybe key workout shoe. About the only advantage the version 2 would have is that it has more outsole, which would again make it more useful for training, especially on a horrible weather day. But yeah, this is a big step up. Rocket X2 and the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3. Okay, so the Hoka Rocket X2 has, I think, a softer, more comprehensively smooth ride if you're landing on the midfoot. But the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3 tends to throw you forward a little bit more, especially when you pick it up into marathon pace and faster. Again, you're gonna deal with the firmness, but it's not that firm. It's just not that deep compression that people have gotten used to with a lot of super shoes. Between these two, and keep in mind I raced a 10K in the Hoka Rocket X2 about 10 days ago, I think I would choose the Nitro Elite 3 if I were doing a 10K or under. Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris and the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3. So if you've seen my channel lately, you know that it's pretty hard to beat the Edge Paris when it comes to running fast. There are a couple who I'd put up there with it. The Deviate Nitro Elite 3, I don't know, is gonna compete directly with it, but it does feel more stable, oddly enough. The Edge Paris is not the most stable shoe. But, for those who run in the Sky Paris, which I don't have, it has a slightly wider forefoot than the Edge Paris. That might not be an issue for you. It feels like there's a little bit more under the Puma's midsole than the Asics, but the Asics still has, I think, a little bit snappier return. When I choose what to run a 10K in, it will be between these two shoes. Well, this has been another very educational shoe off. All right, it is shoe talk time. I literally just finished a track ladder in the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3. Put it through a range of paces from 6-minute miling all the way down to sub 5-minute miling. And then even a set of strides after that, which was close to 4-minute miling. So between that and a tempo run I did last week, and a shoe off that I've done, I think I've got a pretty good handle on this shoe after about 25 miles or so. For me, I mean, to get straight to the chase, I think it is going to be best for races that are an hour in duration or shorter. Could I take it longer? Sure. Could I race a marathon in it? Sure, but I think I have better options for my legs for the end of a marathon than this shoe in particular. It will be a lot better at the end of a race than, say, the version 1, or definitely the version 2. Both of these shoes have their merit. I've raced in the version 1 before. In fact, I did the 5K at Ultimate Runner last year around this time in this shoe and was very happy with it. I might take this one to Ultimate Runner this year. But the version 2, strictly a workout shoe. And I got those both at a discounted price, so that's appropriate. This I did pay full price for, but I think it's worth the $230 US. The upper, it does fit a little long. I guess that's just more the general last than the upper, but the upper's not going anywhere. The laces are pretty soft and thin, and they're very long, but nothing ever came untied. I didn't have any moisture building up, so no problems with the upper. It seemed to be very breathable, and I've been running in very hot, humid days. The outsole, the Puma Grip outsole, is as you would expect it to be. You just felt secure, you felt the grip, and that's part of why I might take it to Ultimate Runner this weekend, because on that 5K course there are some very sharp successive 90-degree turns where something with good cornering grip like this would be very useful. Now, the midsole is the big story of this shoe because it is thicker than the previous years, and it's a different material. It is an aliphatic TPU, which has a very different bounce characteristic than the Piva EVA blend in the previous versions. I've heard people say it's bouncy. It is bouncy, but it's a very quick bounce response, whereas something like a Vaporfly would have a very deep compression where you can really identify the compression and response, and you feel a dip in that. This is a very quick response. It tends to open up the more I run in it. So stepping just out the door, you don't quite feel the bounce. You just feel kind of a firm response, which is not bad. It's a racing shoe, but it tends to open up so it gets more bouncy, a quick bounce. I would say the bouncing response is somewhere in between the bounciness of the Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris and the Asics Metaspeed Edge Plus, where the Edge Plus is kind of firm, doesn't have a lot of give, it's just all like firm response, and the Edge Paris has a very bouncy, more compressive, what you more think of when you think of Piba. This aliphatic TPU midsole is kind of between there. Another note on the midsole, I did some research on aliphatic TPU on the interwebs, and even outside of the running sector, it is a sought after polymer because of how it retains bright colors. And if you look at this midsole, this ombre fade with the Puma pink into the orange that they've been using on a lot of their kit, it really pops. So, I mean, I know aesthetics aren't as important to some, but it sure helps. It makes me feel fast, that's for sure. So yeah, I am liking the shoe the more and more I run in it, and the faster I run in it, the more I like it. So while I might not want it on my feet for the last 10K of a marathon, I would certainly want it on my feet for the last mile of a 5K or the last 2K, 3K of a 10K. When you're really focusing on economizing that form, I was working on leaning forward, leading with my chest, and really activating the roll off the forefoot today, and it felt really responsive there. As I was finishing some of the faster reps and working on attacking the ground rather than just kind of grinding, then it really felt like it gave back there. I really felt like I was activating all of the components, the responsive foam and the plate, the steep plate that was within there. So if you want to run fast, it's a great shoe for that. And it could be used in a training context like that as well. But I would save it for race day or key workouts. I don't think this midsole is going anywhere. I don't think it's going to wear out as quickly as a Zoom X midsole. I think in my rotation, this shoe is going to have a lot of crossover or take the place of the Adidas Takumi Sen. And I really don't, that Takumi Sen version 8 is really kind of at the end of its life. And I don't feel like I need to get another Takumi Sen or a dedicated 5K, 10K racer when I have something like the Deviate Nitro Elite 3 and also the Metaspeed Edge Paris. I think those two will take that place, but also be able to do other things. That is my shoe talk. This is available now in limited quantities in this color at certain retailers in the United States for $230, but it's a July 1st release with the orange fire glow color. And I think they might have another color coming out too, but don't quote me on that. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video, and ding the bell for notifications. Bye, guys.